I see what you're doing with the collar now. I see it now. I see it. Yeah. Good work.
I just need a sawn-off shotgun.
And yeah, right. On the bit of string.
Welcome to the Rewind Classic Movies podcast about 80s and 90s movies we probably saw as kids, even if we weren't old enough to fully understand the adult themes. I'm GB, and with me is my co-host AJ.
Yes, I'm indeed AJ, and it's your pleasure for me to be here. Today, we're looking at Terminator, a film about a naked robot from the future that travels back in time to ruin one woman's day repeatedly.
Directed by James Cameron, who'd just been kicked out of the chair of his first feature film, Piranha 2. It was released in 1984 and made almost $80 million, which is incredible considering it cost just $6 million. $6 million? How did they do this for $6 million?
$6 million? That's mental. That's very... $6 million.
It was not expected to do well at all. Its distributor, Orion Pictures, didn't want to even put on any press screenings because they were just worried that it would get negative reviews.
What?
But anyway, James Cameron has only 8 movies to his name at the time of recording, but he has become the second highest grossing film director of all time, with 3 of the 4 biggest films: Avatar, Avatar 2 and Titanic, which means there's only one good movie in there. Anyway, AJ, tell me about your history with this movie.
Absolutely. I think that I first heard about this film when it was featured in a really, really old BBC Xmas film called Bernard and the Genie.
Are we saying Xmas now?
Xmas, yeah. Well, Christmas. I can say it. Can't I say
Xmas?
Xmas?
Do you say Xmas in your normal life?
I said I don't know. Now you've got me questioning everything. It was a Christmas film called Bernard and the Genie, which is it's a great film if you've ever got a good hour to watch it. It's wicked. Anyway, and I've absolutely no memory of the first time that I saw it. And I think I've only actually seen it a couple of times, although I'm very acutely aware of it. What about you?
I've no idea when I first saw it either, to be honest. I definitely saw it after Terminator 2, after I'd played the video game RoboCop vs. Terminator on the Mega Drive. So... Terminator 2 was just so huge, and I think to most people it completely overshadows the original, and I always forget how different the 1984 movie is in tone to T2. This is much closer to a horror or thriller, where T2 is basically just a Hollywood action movie. But this might be the best use of $6 million I've ever seen, although to be fair, I'd rather see it spent on solving hunger or something. But still, $6 million for a movie, brilliant.
I couldn't agree more. It was amazing. I now want to go and see T2. I mean, obviously I've seen Terminator 2, but I don't really remember it all that well in comparison to the first, but I know it's a lot more action.
Really?
I remember it. I remember the guy who's, liquid metal and stuff like that, and he's a T-1000 or something like that. He was the guy that was in X-Files after Duchovny left.
Robert Patrick, correct.
Robert Patrick, there we go, ding ding.
I think you're the first person I've met who said they know Terminator 1 more than Terminator 2. That's amazing.
I do, and I thought about this because I remember you suggesting should we do Terminator 2, and I said, I think I'd rather do Terminator 1 because I think it's a better film, and I know a lot of people are like, aliens at Terminator 1, Terminator 2, but I'm not sure I agree. I love this low-budget look of it, and it's funny... When I saw it, I thought, it's a bit like a Carpenter movie, low budget, bit horror, bit like... And reading the research, obviously, he was sort of like, very inspired by Carpenter's Halloween and the whole slasher genre. So, it is there. But I'm waffling now, and we can waffle later. Tell me about the start of the movie.
Let's talk about the start of the movie. We fade into this post-nuclear scene at night with twisted metal and the words Los Angeles 2029 AD. I mean, we are almost there, both in terms of time and almost that close to a nuclear wasteland, right?
Right. It's the scary thing.
Before some lasers shoot past and a ship flies overhead, some tank tracks roll over some skulls. I love that bit. And a soldier's being chased by lasers. There's some explainer text about how the machines rose from the ashes of nuclear fire and the final battle would be fought in the present. Before those da-dum, dum, da-dum drums come in. And then we get the synth for those opening credits. Oh, how do you feel about this as an opening scene and sort of set up for the movie?
It's great, like you say, with the drums. It's just like, oh, you'd strap in. This is going to be good, you know. I feel like it could be the aftermath of Crimson Tide if Gene Hackman got his way. You know, just like I feel they're all sorts of linked in a kind of way. All these films that we're doing,
the unofficial sequel to Crimson Tide.
I know, it's just like wars happened, nuclear war, and it's oh my god, not another one. You know, we're sort of like. 30 seconds to midnight or whatever the atomic clock's doing.
I just looked at this as a documentary, sort of helping me plan what I'm going to do after sort of Trump's first 6 months, really.
I think it's not a bad thing.
Tariffs, nothing to worry about tariffs. It's the nuclear winter you want to worry about.
I know, right? It's massively bleak.
Topical.
It's so bleak as an opener. But I know I've got so much to say about it, but I'm going to leave it for the VFX bit, because what I'll do is I'll go down a rabbit hole talking about it all. But it's so good. All the models and stuff, it was great. And the thing is, everyone who went to see it at the cinema must have wondered what it was about.
I mean, I love that this movie doesn't over-explain or over set up what happens at the start. You're not really sure what Kyle Reese is doing or even who he is necessarily at the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, I tried really hard to imagine watching this film for the first time, not really knowing what's happened. And for all anybody knows, Kyle could be just as a bad guy as much as Arnie is. You know, there's two of these guys have been sent back and he's being really creepy and stalking her and stuff. It's like, you know, what is going on?
I sort of not regret, because you can't regret it, but I'd love to be able to be in the headspace for some of these movies that we watch and watch them with a clean slate of not knowing anything about them, having none of the nostalgia. It's the whole, you know, I am your father Star Wars thing. Ding, ding. But let's talk about how this movie came to be.
I wondered how you were going to fit that in. I wondered. Well done.
It should be a challenge. It's not. It's just my life. After being kicked off the nightmare of Piranha 2, Cameron crashed in a hotel and had a fever dream of this Terminator torso crawling towards him to come and kill him. He talked about this idea to his agent, who told him to forget about it, and Cameron ditched him and never replaced him. He was living with sci-fi writer Randall Frakes at the time, who'd go on, funny enough, to write one of the film's 2 novelizations, weirdly. And Cameron was a fan of things like The Outer Limits, weren't we all, darling? Which would come back to bite him a little bit in the ass, because it had this episode from 1964 called Soldier, in which these 2 rivals are sent back from the future to fight it out in the past. Now, the writer of that, Harlan Ellison, he's a chap that liked an argument and a court case or two. He claimed that Cameron stole his idea and the studios settled out of court in 1986. But to this day, Cameron denies it and calls it a nuisance claim. Every copy since then has carried a, quotes, acknowledgement to the works of Harlan Ellison, end quote. There's also some stuff around the co-writer and producer Galen Hurd that we might get into later if we have time, but it's a bit boring. There's more interesting stuff we can talk about, isn't there?
Yes, there is indeed. I mean, you can go off on so many tangents.
I just want to get your opinion on this.
Go on.
The Soldier thing with Harlan Ellison, you know, the 2 guys sent back from the future to fight it out in the past. I know Cameron says it's sort of nonsense, but it's hard to deny if you were someone that watched The Outer Limits and that was the plot point.
It's quite specific, isn't it?
But also, like, that's just one part of it. The rest of the bones that have been put on this makes me think, does it fucking matter? Aside from having to settle and give him money, and the bloke was known for it.
I think that it's just cha-ching, cha-ching, to be honest.
Anyway, sorry, back to you.
No, it's all right. I was just saying, Cameron wanted Lance Henriksen for the Terminator role.
Are we going to say Hendrickson? Am I going to let you get away with that?
Henriksen? Is it? There's no D in it, is it? Henriksen?
Yeah.
Henriksen?
Do you prefer the D?
I like the D, to be honest, I do. But I'll say Lance it just doesn't roll off the tongue as well, does it?
You're trying to put the D in Lance Henriksen.
I do. I want to put the D in everybody, to be honest. For fuck's sake.
This is what people tune in for.
This is it, isn't it? I tell you what, I need to take this bloody jumper off now. I'm really hot. Lance Henriksen. There's amazing artwork of him mocked up as the Terminator, which Cameron drew. He's a superb artist. If you have a look at some of his drawings, I didn't realise before he became a director he was doing art direction stuff. He was working in the model shop. He was making all these models. And Lance Henriksen was so into it that he went full method acting on the role, and he rocked up to the producer's office in full makeup, in character. And the producers didn't know what was going on. He was just sat there in the office, and he had like bits of tin foil on his teeth and everything.
What?
Like, he was fully mocked up as the Terminator. And obviously the Terminator was written for a smaller person that would blend in like a sort of spy, if you will. And obviously they changed that when they got Schwarzenegger involved. But that was the thing. It was originally written for a smaller person that would just sort of blend into the background. And Lance Henriksen actually ended up playing the cop in The Precinct, actually.
Lance Henriksen, who is one of 5, what I'm going to call full-size names on the opening credits. This sort of surprised me, watching it back. You get Arnie, Bean, never know how to say his name.
I know.
Bean.
I'd say Beanden, but stick a D in there.
Arnie, Bean, Hamilton. And then we get Lance Henriksen and Paul Winfield, who play the cops. I mean, we'll talk about them more later, not in casting, but later on, because I just find it so odd that we then get a page after those 5 shared between Rick Rossovich and Bess Motter as Matt and Ginger, and Earl Bowen as Dr. Silverman. Just crazy that the main cast and names 4 and 5 are just some cops that are in it briefly that you probably wouldn't get that far up in almost any other movie. And I counted the names of the cast at the end credits because that's how boring I get for this podcast. And I think I counted 43, right? That includes all the people like bar customer, truck driver, TV anchorman, etc. 43.
I love that you actually counted them all. That's next level dedication. Wow. Well done. But no, 43. It's not a huge cast, is it?
No, and it's one of those things that I only think about because we're doing this podcast, right? Is when I see $6 million, I think, how did they do that for this? And obviously, don't pay that many people to be in it. Was one way.
You've got 5. Well, what is it? How many names at the beginning? It's five full names. So that's five billing names. Those are the ones that are getting the cash. The rest of them are just extras, essentially, just walk on parts.
Yeah. I mean, everyone else in this probably did it. The scenes in the day or something,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even Rick Rossovich and Bess Motter as Matt and Ginger, for sure, they had big parts in it. But
I wouldn't say they're big parts. They're killed by the end of the first act.
Yeah.
Barely got a line between them. Anyway, I tell someone who has barely any more lines than them.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Indeed, as the Terminator. So, and this is really interesting. Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm going to call him Arnie from here on out, just because it's a lot easier. Rolls off the tongue a lot nicer. He read for the part of Reese originally. Right? I mean, can you imagine him being? No, I just can't. I can't see that at all. And neither could Cameron. Cameron didn't want him, and he said actually to the producer, he said, "I'm going to go and pick a fight with him." So they wouldn't get along on purpose. So they wouldn't, he would say, "Oh, I don't want to be in this movie with this guy."
Is that your Arnold Schwarzenegger impression?
That was my Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. I do not want to be in the movie with this guy. It's terrible. I'll work on it as the podcast goes on. But Cameron found him charming and thought he'd be amazing as the Terminator during their meeting. And yeah, as you mentioned earlier, he's hardly got any lines. He's got 17 lines of actual dialogue in the film. 17 lines.
And one of them was, "I want your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle." Absolutely classic.
Was that in this film?
Oh, no, that's T2.
That's
Sorry,
T2.
I fucked
That's
up.
T2. You totally did. I was just like, I was pretty sure I missed that. I think you've got that wrong. Yeah,
What did he say in this? Was it, "Your clothes,
Your
give them
clothes.
to me"?
That's it. That's literally it.
"Bill Paxton, I want your clothes." Oh, God, I've gone back to Nelson Mandela. Let's talk about his age. He's 37. He's a good-looking 37-year-old man, isn't he?
Mate, that's like 2 years younger than I am now. Fair play.
Is it?
I heard that they also considered O.J. Simpson. Can you imagine the juice?
Yeah, I heard that, and I heard that he wasn't. Cameron said that he wasn't seriously considered. Well, was he considered or was he not considered? Because if he was slightly considered, then he was considered.
Arnold, good old Arnold, he kept morale up on set quite a lot apparently on the long days. Because obviously, Cameron's a very exacting director. I know he does like his long days, and Arnold kept morale up on set by telling jokes and keeping the spirits high on various long days of shooting. I would just love to see him like tell these jokes. Knock, knock. You know, you know what I mean? I mean, that's funny enough, isn't it? You know.
I tell you, someone else who needed their morale kept up on set was Linda Hamilton. She fucking hated it by all accounts. I won't go into it too much, but she had to have a big row with James Cameron towards the end of shooting because she was just fed up of the way he was treating her stroke everybody. The irony is she went on to go and marry the bloke.
I didn't know that. Linda Hamilton. No.
Oh, Linda Hamilton.
I thought he married the producer.
Gail Ann Hurd. Yeah, he was married to her, I think, while they were making it. And then he would go on to marry. He would go on to marry a lot of women that he worked with in his movies.
Women, I think. He married to 5 women. And he's a taskmaster. I mean, everyone's fallen out with him. Look at Hitchcock. I mean, he was an arsehole. But he got out of his actors what he needed to get out of them. Maybe he gets out of his actors what he needs to get out of them. He played on her being tired and dirty and hungry on set. And maybe he's a bastard for doing it, but maybe it worked.
Whenever I hear this kind of thing, I think, just try acting.
Is this why you're a famous actor, Gareth?
Like, you know, if I've got to be tired and hungry to play someone tired and hungry, I think you're not doing the acting right. That's no slight on Linda Hamilton, because she could have been amazing for all I know. Christ, let's stop talking about on-set conditions and criticising people's acting skills.
Let's talk about...
Everyone in this movie is brilliant.
Obviously. I mean, this is very true.
I don't think there's a weak... Is there a weak person in this movie? I don't think there is.
Michael Biehn, as Kyle Reese, is great.
I thought he's one of the best in this.
Yeah.
Everyone gives such great performances. Everyone believes they are the character. And that really comes across on screen for me. And the characters are so wildly different and the portrayals are so different. Like Reese's intense, scared performance is a world away from like Stone Cold Arnie, who's a world away from the sort of fed up cops that are just doing their day-to-day shit. And I always thought Linda Hamilton was the weakest part of this movie for a long time. A bit stiff and a bit, not cringe, but I think now watching it, that is her nailing the character that she wanted to bring to the screen. Her character development from shy and hopeless in the beginning to this Sarah that we know from that Terminator 2 when she ends Terminator 1 with, "You're terminated, fucker." Like, whoa, you take the start of the movie and the end of the movie, that's a great journey for that character.
She does absolutely nail it, completely and utterly.
Up for this role was Gina Davis, Leah Thompson, who you will know from Back to the Future. Linda Hamilton, I thought she was younger than this. She's 27 in this. I thought she was like 19, 20.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I totally didn't think she was 27.
She plays it younger for me.
I think in the show notes or in the script notes, the character was supposed to be around about 19.
Right, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, wow.
Also up for Kyle Reese, Christopher Reeve, Matt Dillon, I heard, Tommy Lee Jones, and Bruce Willis.
I could see Bruce Willis, maybe. Yeah. I don't think I'd want to, but I could see it. I could see why it'd be a casting choice.
Oh, and Sting and Bruce Springsteen. Almost forgot to mention them.
Yes.
Before we move on to visuals and VFX, is there anything else you want to talk about character casting wise?
There was just Bill Paxton as a punk.
Yeah. Not in the main credits, of course.
No, not at all. Obviously, he went on to play in Aliens and Titanic. So went on to work with Cameron in the future.
The thing I love about Bill Paxton is that he's got those tyre marks over half his face.
I know. I love how they're just being so like such hard boys, you know.
While we're just talking about those hard boys, I've got nowhere else to really talk about this. But when Arnie kills them, basically, he puts his robot hand in and rips out his heart.
Does he rip out his heart?
I think so.
Okay, I thought he just put his hand through him.
The reason I think it's his heart, aside from it sort of looks like he pulls something out, is when Reese gets arrested and he's in the police thing and he's being interviewed and he goes sort of crazy. He says, "He will rip out her heart." That's a terrible Reese impression. But he literally says those words of what he will do to Sarah Connor.
Oh, because it's already happened. Yeah, I didn't put two and two together. I quite like that.
We'll move on to visuals and VFX. Let's start with the Terminator design. What do you think of it? Because for me, there is something amazing about the design of that skeleton, because it's not as simple as just a metal skeleton. It's very imposing. It's like, as a kid, that was scary, seeing the big metal skull with the red eyes and the flames behind it, all that sort of promo material. And like little things like it has actual human teeth. They're not metal. which means Lance Henriksen's foil over his teeth was wrong. But like, how did they get those teeth? That sounds like a horrifying story, like mini story about how the Terminators get the human teeth.
Just the little trophies every time they kill a human, they implant their teeth in. I think the design's brilliant, and obviously James Cameron's early mock-ups, there's even one of him like holding a knife and he's just half of his body. It looks exactly like his drawings, you know, and you see so many sort of mock-ups and drawings from the art department that look kind of similar to what they want, but they went in a very different direction. Cameron got exactly what he drew. It absolutely shows in his drawings. It's incredible. And it is obviously a robot. Robots now, we've seen so many of different guises and different disguises and things like that. But at the time, it was very humanoid. It was very skeletal-like, but it was very industrial. Even to the bit where you've got these sort of like, I don't know, two struts that go from the shoulders up to the skull. It's like, it's just, the whole thing is outstanding. And it's cold, right? It feels cold.
Those neck struts are like my primary memory of when I was 10, 11, or whatever it was, when Terminator 2 came out, and you had that image of Arnie with his like face, half man, half machine. Yeah. And you had like his neck with those little things coming up. Man, that was such a great image. That's so vivid for me.
No, it's stunning. Absolutely stunning. It's amazing. The makeup, actually, by Stan Winston, did such an amazing job of Arnie that, you can see when they cut between the, Arnie animatronic and actually Arnie talking. But for the time, it was outstanding. It was really, really good.
What did you think of the visual effects in this?
I think they were absolutely brilliant. They were stunning. I know that I'm saying this a lot. I know I keep like, brilliant, it was wonderful, it was great. It was, though, it was. And I know you look at it now and you go, Christ, that looks a bit dated. But no, because it came out in, when did it come out? 1984, yeah?
4.
I mean, for the time, it was brilliant. And they had a $6 million budget, for God's sake. It was absolutely... This is the thing. You've got no money. You've got none. The VFX company, Fantasy 2, did such a good job. And Cameron likes them because, and I quote, they built really big models, blew shit up, and shot from the hip. That was from Cameron. And it says something, doesn't it? It's like, blow it up and just film it. Go. It's wonderful.
Big models... Big models is the way to go, I was going to say, but that could be horrendously taken out of context. I think it all comes back to, you say what you like about this movie, $6 million, right? We've talked about a lot of movies that were $30 million, around the same time.
Yeah.
And there are some janky blue screen comps in this. The couple of worst offenders for me in this are some of the stop motion stuff that just looks a bit dated and janky when you have the Terminator moving, and the bit you mentioned of Arnie when he suddenly becomes a bit robotic, which is ironic because he's a fucking robot. But the jump is there and it's always obvious and it always stands out to me. But I think, like you say, we have to come back and realise the time it was made, how much it was made for. They're making fucking animatronics and stuff like that on a $6 million budget. I can forgive all of that because for me, that 6'2" full animatronic of just the metal Terminator is awesome, and it sells the whole thing and is one of the scariest things in this movie. When you see that head just like go, like, fuck me, that thing feels alive.
It totally does. And they said they were just filling the place with smoke because they had to hide the background. Shots of like the truck burning and in flames, they were shot first on the soundstage, and then they had to be created after the explosion had to be created afterwards for the VFX. So they filmed all the shots. They filmed them lying down and the truck's blown up and all the debris everywhere. And then they were given those dailies and like, okay, you got to create that. That's blown up and that's what it's... And work back. And they filmed this tiny little model and they're pulling it along and they pulled it too fast that the front axle fell off and then it blew up. And they're like, oh, fuck's sake, we can't use that. So they had to rebuild it and start again.
I saw that behind the scenes of the truck that they blow up from sort of the third act. And, you watch the movie and if you don't know about these things, it just looks great. I always think the minute you see some behind the scenes, you suddenly then, when you see the movie, go, oh yeah, that truck's not got that much detail, or I can see it's a model, and it really affects your view of it. But again, amazing.
If you didn't know, you wouldn't know. It still looks bloody real.
One thing that I think you can undervalue and not appreciate in this movie is the costumes, because everyone's outfits in this are perfect. There are some iconic looks, from the Terminator itself to Reese's big coat, and even Sarah's very 80s pink cardigan. But Linda Hamilton's hair. Whoa. Oh man, that is as 80s as it gets. And I tell you what, Arnie's hair at the start of this, it's a bit weird. It's like borderline middle or side parting or something, and it's just a bit, why would a robot killer choose that style? And then by the time he's sort of jumped on a few cars and done a bit of running around, it's all just sort of gone a bit spiky, which looks a bit cooler. But Michael Biehn, to me, in this is the coolest dude. I mean, it's a very 80s look, but has this guy wearing a homeless man's jacket and just been sent back in time with nothing look that damn good? Well, those Nikes help.
I know, right? But he's got these sort of paint-covered trousers, which he's nicked from a tramp, and trench coat.
Who's pissed
collar.
himself.
Absolutely. Collar turned up, and he's just, effortlessly cool. The costume department didn't have a whole load of work to do, really.
Oh, do you think? I see, that's where I think we're undervaluing it. I think they've nailed every detail. You look at like Arnie's thing's got chains on it and stuff like that, and then Arnie changes from that kind of the gang leader costume to then that leather jacket look. I think there's a lot of work gone on there that really helps sell this film.
Fair enough.
I think you've been really fucking unfair there, mate.
I think that's a fair comment. I think I didn't say that it wasn't great. I just think they had a lot of work to do. They were like, well, let's go down to the thrift shop and get a couple of trench coats and some trousers and an 80s
just
cardigan.
Make some stuff off some homeless people.
Basically, look, Linda, bring in your dancing gear, because apparently people go dancing in like knit cardigans.
Would you like to be in the Tech Noir nightclub?
I would definitely go to the Tech Noir nightclub. Did you see the way they were dancing? They were having a good time. They were getting down, The fashion in the 80s was something else. Do you remember?
Music. Da-dum, dum, da-dum. The main theme for this does it get better than this? This is one of the greatest movie themes of all time.
I knew this movie theme before I saw the film. And then when I saw the film when I was much older, I was like, it's from this. Yeah, I don't know why I knew the film score. I just did. I knew that theme. Everyone seemed to know that theme. It was just used. And then I saw the film and went, oh, yeah.
Brad Fiedel, I think it's Brad Fiedel, he did a lot of sort of made-for-TV films before this. But he's done incredible work on this, because I don't know how he's managed to make a theme that is both imposing and intimidating and heavy, but also really emotional and sentimental and moving, all within the same thing. How do you bring all that together?
I don't know. This is why I don't score films.
That melody, though, like, he uses it in different ways, and it just has so many different emotions attached to it, depending on how they use it.
Even when Arnold lands for the first time and stands up, you have the heartbeat drums just in the background. You can hear his heartbeat. It's just great.
There's more to the score, I'm sure. I haven't done it the honour of listening to the whole bloody thing in an OST, which feels wrong now I'm talking about it. But it feels like there is just that one bit of music that they use repeatedly throughout the movie. And it also then comes back for Terminator 2, where it's used again. I don't know how you get two movies out of this score, which is a huge credit to how great it is. But the Terminator 2 moment where Arnie goes down and does the thumbs up.
The thumb. That's the strikes up again.
It's this theme, and it's so powerful.
It is. Do you know what? It's tear-jerking at that point. It really is.
I was crying like a young John Connor whenever I watched that. Let me ask you this question. How good do you think this soundtrack would have been if it had been composed by Genesis keyboard player Tony Banks?
It would have been very interesting. Was he asked to do it?
Yeah, he was approached to do it. But can you imagine if the do-dum was Phil Collins?
Oh my God. Oh, that would have been incredible.
Brilliant. I can't praise this music enough. It's just so efficient.
Yeah, it is. That's it, right? That's it. It's efficient. I like that, man. That's. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It doesn't overpower it at all.
Why take 40 notes to say what you can say in 6? Da 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 da. I mean, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
truly.
Now we've both got a few things we want to talk about. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I'll go. I've got so much to talk about.
We're gonna have to whistle through some of it.
Yeah, we will. I mean, again, this is just
pick and choose.
There is so much to talk about, but I do want to absolutely mention Linda Hamilton's motorbike. Fuck Arnie's bike. I mean, I want her gold beast scooter thing that she's rocking around on. That thing's mega. Yep, that's my number one thing I want to talk about.
When I watched it,
it's so good. I don't know what it is or who makes it, but it looks cool as fuck. It's the most 80s thing, right? It is like the most 80s thing.
I don't know anything about it, but I can imagine it having like a really crap LCD screen with like an LCD bar for the speed or something.
Yes, yeah, that just moves horizontally like that. You know.
Yeah, I'm sat here with a keyboard from like 1984, so. Who am I to judge?
It's an Amstrad. Oh my god.
No, it's a replica Commodore 64 for anyone that's really interested.
Oh god, how about that?
Anyway, I'll do a similarly stupid one. What kid wastes his own ice cream by putting it in a waitress's pocket? What a fucking idiot that kid is.
I was surprised she didn't go nuts. She just resigned to the fact like, oh, not again.
That ice cream looked awesome.
The puppeteers, and I can't give enough shout outs to the puppeteers. There's shots and photographs of them carrying basically the Terminator on their backs, like the upper half of it. Human, but still that mechanical joltiness. Not so much that it's comic, but that it is sort of harrowing and it feels very scary. I think they did such a good job.
This, for me, is what works. They are putting that real life into it, where the stop motion doesn't have the same effect. Speaking of seeing more of those kind of robot things, the future war scenes in this, awesome. The teaser we get of the future to come. Man. I always wanted to see more of that. And then when we get them in later movies, it's a bit disappointing, and I kind of wish I hadn't seen it all.
The nightclub, Tech Noir, because they were filming, rather than... yeah, absolutely, too. They're dancing. It's great. I think they were filming in there for like 2 nights or 3 nights or something. When they closed, when they finished shooting, they wrapped shooting. People were queuing up because they thought it was an actual nightclub because they'd seen it going on. People were turning up, and they were so desperate for cash that they nearly opened it up as a nightclub just to get cash. They were desperate for cash at this point. I think it was quite close to wrapping for filming. They were so desperate. They were like, "Should we open it up?" That would have been quite funny.
That is hilarious. I love that they're maybe still queuing out there with all the broken glass on the floor.
Yeah.
People nitpick. I saw this online and question why the Terminator ran away after that initial chase where the police are surrounding him in like the underground parking garage, whatever. But I'll take that one step further and ask why Arnie at all bothers to even worry about clothes. If he's that much of a killer that can't be stopped, I could watch a Terminator movie with just a naked Arnie running around trying to kill people. That sounds great. His little ass, his little peachy ass, just bobbling along. Well, I mean, I think in terms of his frame.
I mean, when you see him walking up to the punks and Bill Paxton, you can actually see his wang a little bit.
I stopped short of trying to pause the movie. I got Basic Instinct.
I was
You were pinched to zoom.
Yes, absolutely. You can see it and sort of boost the colours and everything. Yeah, no, it's there. It's there. Meat
Impressive. And
the 2 veg. Yeah, definitely not small. When they zip Reese into the body bag. Spoilers. That's James Cameron's suit bag. They needed a body bag, and he was just like, "Oh, I've got something in my car." Went to his car.
I love it.
Got out his suit bag. That's his suit bag. And you know the bit where, obviously you know the bit where he's being crushed at the end, and the skull and the lights fade, and there's loads of smoke. That's someone on the sound set with a fag just off shot. So one of the VFX guys was talking about. He's just blows the smoke in. That's fag smoke right there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
If I was President Trump, and I don't want to get too controversial, the first thing I would do is ban CGI in movies. Let's go back to cigarette smoke being blown onto scenes, please.
We say this, I think, every single week. Bits of CGI, fine. There's time and a place, but just back to model building. Absolutely. Let's build the models and let's blow them the fuck up because it just looks ace.
You mentioned about Kyle Reese being zipped up in the body bag. Just a very quick mention. I love how they don't overplay his death. Like, there's a moment where she just rolls him over and he's dead, and the film has to keep going. And then, like you say, he just gets taken away in an ambulance. Never mentioned.
You don't see any exaggerated death. He sticks the gel ignite or the plastique in his ribs, and he rolls down the stairs, and that's sort of it. And then, like you say, he rolls over, and then they put him in a body bag, and off he goes. There's no heroic death. Obviously, he's managed to blow him up, but that's all. There's no any of that. It's just he's dead now.
Quick thing that bugs me about all Terminator movies, or any movie that has robots in it.
Oh, yeah.
The way they walk slowly and deliberately, and sort of, they never run until it's far more exciting for a scene to see them run. And then you think, well, why didn't they just run before? Later Terminator movies are worse for this when you've got the newer models running all the time. And it's done quite well in Terminator 2, but the running inconsistency of the Terminator bugs me a little bit.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I see. You mentioned earlier about why he, people say, why did he bother to leave when he could have just killed all the cops? He disappeared. And you said really on in this podcast that it's more like a horror than an action film. And that's it right there. When the camera suddenly goes to the car and it's empty, where's he gone? That's horror.
In the movie, he shouldn't be afraid of anyone. He should just got out of the car and killed him. The end. Da da da.
Well, I guess because his eye wasn't functioning, maybe.
We don't have to try and make up excuses for why
I know.
It's there. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's fine.
I've got every time in the world for it. I think it's great.
Should I tell you what isn't brilliant?
No, tell me.
The sex scene.
Do you know what? I didn't realise there was so much boob.
And he had a good grab, didn't he?
Proper.
This scene is terribly shot.
It's not great.
And maybe edited even worse. It's really just like one medium shot of their sides and a close-up of their intertwined, clenched hands, and occasionally a close-up of Sarah's raised face. And they just jump cut back and forth between effectively like two shots. It's dreadful. Like, it's really amateur movie making stuff, and you just think James Cameron must have gone, well, it's not my kind of thing. I don't really know. I haven't got much time, or I haven't got much money. Fucking, this will do. It's not good. It's one of the worst sex scenes I've ever seen, and I've seen quite a few, AJ. Let me tell you.
Have you now?
Have I turned into Boise?
From Only Fools and Horses, right?
Mr. Romance.
It wasn't particularly overly great, I must admit, but I guess they had to put it in there because obviously, she gets pregnant and what have you, it closes that circle, but they could have done a better job of it, or they could have just faded to black. You didn't need to see so much of, I don't know, so much.
Like, how many times do we need to see this? And then it ends with it in slow motion as well as it fades to black.
Yeah.
Less is more. Did you find it arousing?
No, not really.
No, me neither. I had to watch that scene 3 times. Nothing.
No. Should we talk about the end of the movie?
Before we do that I will, in James Cameron's defence, sort of. I mean, he's still the director. He should have done it better. But it says me, James Cameron should have done it better. But the romance between them was one of 2 suggestions from the studio. It wasn't originally part of the story, but he agreed to add the romance element in. The other thing that he said no to was, have you heard about this?
No.
The studio said to James Cameron, we think Reese should have a robot dog sidekick.
You're joking. You seriously?
Like a fucking canine from Doctor Who just running around or something.
What is it?
He went, no.
I'm not surprised. What is it with production companies? They always get involved, don't they? They always get involved.
You're not having the robot dog. I will give you a shit sex scene. The correct choice. We should talk about the permits thing.
They needed that last shot when she drives off and into that big matte painting of the mountains and the storm that's incoming after she leaves that gas station. and they needed that, and that was in post-production. They needed basically to quickly go out and film it. And it was the producer Heard's secretary driving the Jeep at that point. That wasn't Linda Hamilton. They didn't bring her back for that. That was the secretary driving that. And it was all done in post. There was no permits, and they set up the cameras, and no one was driving down this road all day long. Completely empty road. Then a cop car comes along and pulls over and says, "You can't film here." And they're like, oh, okay, all right. And then someone from Fantasy 2, who was there as well, had brought their son along to help, like, set up the cameras and bits and pieces. And he turned around and said, "Oh, we're making a film for my son's cinema college class kind of thing." And the cop was like, "Oh, really? Oh, that's great. I'll make sure the road's closed and everything." And so he's like, and move the camera over a bit so it's off the road. But yeah, keep going. Well done, everyone. And they got the shots. It's brilliant.
I love that. I love I love people lying to make movies.
And this is the thing. It's down to, again, to the model building and the cigarette smoke and just lying to the police that you're sure. I mean, films don't get made like this anymore that are huge.
Brilliant. Now let's talk about the end of the movie. There's two parts to the end of this movie that I think we should talk about. Firstly, there's the final act chase through the factory, which is tense as fuck and legitimately scary. And I think it's about 6 minutes long. Then there's Sarah's 3-minute epilogue, right? It's epilogue is the after bit.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Then she drives off and you get the da-dum, dum, da-dum.
Oh.
How do you feel about those two endings of the movie?
Through the factory is stunning. The chase through the factory. God, I've seen it so many times, but even last night it was like, and we were all like, exactly what's going to happen. Absolutely brilliant.
This thing just seems unstoppable.
Yeah.
They really capture that kind of, what the fuck are we going to do? Like, are we just going to keep running? It is an unstoppable beast. When the truck explodes, right, and they're being chased and you have the big truck explosion.
Yeah.
They sort of set up that as a happy ending. Of the Terminator being destroyed and that kind of thing. You get just a few beats. How could you survive
that? Yeah.
And the studio wanted to end it there, I think, to save money. And I think Cameron told them to go fuck themselves, because I think was his words.
Because that's what he does, let's face it.
And then you get that moment where they realise it's still alive and brilliant, and it's sort of horrifying, because you really do question, well, can it be stopped? And he's coming out of the explosion and on fire and all that. And that sets up everything that comes after with that chase through the factory. I just think it's so brilliantly done. You've only got 2 actors in that scene, and it's a fucking factory full of machines. You sort of go, how do you make this interesting? But he manages to do it in a way, like when they go in, turn all the machines on. Brilliant. There's so many subtle things that make you think in this movie.
Machines confusing machines, essentially.
But the epilogue, it makes the movie has such a stronger ending, a more thought-provoking ending.
Thought-provoking. I think it was the only part of the film that really sort of let it down a little bit for me, and only a little bit. Ooh. I just thought, I don't know, she pulls into this garage, and I know, where's she heading? She's obviously heading south, I suppose, to Mexico, because she's trying to speak Spanish or something like that. And it just felt a bit bolted on in a way. I just felt like the acting was maybe a little bit off, and I know that she's developed as a character. I know she's pregnant, and I know
thought the acting was brilliant there.
Interesting. I didn't like it so much. I've never really liked the ending.
The question I ask is, without that epilogue, how the fuck does this movie end? Because it's not a happy ending.
I know, that's the thing. You do need that in there. I think it could have just been handled a bit differently or something like that.
The concept of it sets up the whole franchise for me.
Yes. I'll give you that. You're absolutely right.
And there's more about the ending that I'm going to come on to, but we are running out of time. So let's quickly talk about some favourite scenes and favourite lines.
Yeah.
Some of my favourite things in this movie are the 2 cops. Those police scenes, every time you see them, they really ground the movie. Those 2 detectives, I could watch a spin-off movie with just those 2 guys. And I love how Ed is always telling Hal to shut up.
Right, he's always got a story he wants to tell and he never gets to tell it.
That is my buddy cop movie that I want to see.
He says to him as well, there's one little bit where he's just like, give me a cigarette. And then he realises he already got one in his mouth. And it's just, it's this little bit of unexpected comedy between these 2. Like you say, the buddy cop thing. That's just great, actually.
That's some of my favourite stuff in this movie.
It's not a favourite scene or anything like that, but I think the what I didn't understand was the motel. Now, before the motel, they've got the car, they've run out of fuel, and they've pushed it off the road, and they go and hide under a bridge. They're cold, they're tired, he has a flashback and all that sort of shit. And the next scene, like when he wakes up and all that sort of stuff, he's got like a wad of cash, because she says, I don't even want to know where you got that from. And then they go and get a motel room. Why the fuck didn't they do this the previous night? Like, why did they go and sleep under a bridge and she's cold and they're all like, and it's like, let's go and get a motel now then. But I mention this scene because it does lead into one of my favourite scenes in the film, and it's the flashback of him going into the rebel base, ding ding, if you will. Oh, thank you. And it's bleak. It's really bleak. Like I said, the future opens bleakly. Anything about the future is bleak, but it's this underground. It's where the people are living. They're trying to survive. All the rebels or whatever you want to call them are living there. And there's this part where there's little girls watching a TV set. But inside the TV set, it's just on fire. And, on one hand, she's keeping warm. On the other hand, she's just watching. And there's just so much imagery there.
I laughed out loud at this point. I've never laughed at this point in the movie before. But I saw that, and it's their faces as they're watching it. Just... that is bleak. What do you do in the future for entertainment? Just watch a fire in the TV.
Right.
It's the reveal is funny.
It
Like
is.
you see it from the back and they're entranced by it, and then you see the other angle.
It's so good. It makes you feel so awful. And then a Terminator busts through the door and fucking kills everyone. Laser, getting the laser gun. I was like, oh my God, it's brutal. And I love that scene. It's horrible. It's awful. It really sets up the future for like, Jesus Christ, we've got to stop the Terminator. We've got to make sure Linda Hamilton survives. That's my favourite scene in the movie for sure.
Speaking of brutal scenes, the scene where Arnie drives the car into the police station and just takes everyone out.
Classic.
Might be my favourite scene in the whole movie. Not because of the action, like at all. I generally hate mindless action scenes. They just bore me. But every shot, every kill adds to the story in this bit. And it's done in such a way that just makes it terrifying and takes away every last bit of hope of stopping this guy. You've got the sanctity of the police station just gone. And then she's hiding under a desk behind a locked door. I mean, it's completely fucking pointless. Like, those things aren't going to protect you. A police station full of policemen can't protect you. He's unstoppable. And then our two favourite cops get shot with the camera cutting away from the shooting of Hal, which only makes it worse.
Totally. I really felt that because you just see the end of the gun, right? And you just know that he's dead.
Well, stay tuned.
Okay.
I'll talk about that in a minute.
All right.
Part of me then wants to save it for fast forward, but I won't.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
One other last bit that it's not a favourite scene. It's just a little moment that I thought was really good. Reese is doing his bit to the security camera. He's like, "You still don't get it, do you? He'll find her. That's what he does. He'll pull her fucking heart out." That kind of thing. Which is what we've seen the Terminator do already. Then Dr. Silberman is told to stop the tape because obviously Sarah's watching this. He just does this sort of whoops kind of thing, and he's like, "Sorry," and she's like, "Fuck." Dr. Silberman, I mean, he comes back for future movies. He's just one of those sort of love to hate kind of characters, especially in T2. You want him to be stabbed by Sarah Connor. He's so good for giving like this nuanced, realistic performance, like everyone is in this movie. Mm-hmm. And I love that sort of our introduction to him. He's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a criminal psychologist," to Sarah Connor, but he's doing it while yawning. He's like, "I'm a criminal psychologist." Who chooses that? Is that James Cameron? Is that the actor? Because like those moments, nowadays in the movie, it'd be, "I'm a criminal psychologist."
You're right. He used to stay with a cardigan on and, I've been woken up to come down to the precinct.
He tells you so much about his character by one thing, a yawn.
Yeah.
Brilliant. We have to mention, "Come with me if you want to live." Oh no, that's Reese says it in this, doesn't he?
Yeah, Reese says that.
"Come with me if you want to live." And we have to say, "I'll be back."
Yeah, I mean, it's mandatory. It's the classic line from the film, right?
Should we both have a go at it?
"I'll be back."
Good.
As
"I'll be back." Oh my God. Fuck. Cut this bit out. Arnie said they did like 10 takes of it, all with different vibes. He wanted it to be really machine-like, obviously, but James Cameron had written in the script, "I'll be back," but Arnie insisted it should be "I will be back" because it was more robotic. And I kind of agree with Arnie on the theory, but it's hard to go back on something so iconic.
It's so moulded in history now, isn't it?
Now, trivia and deleted scenes.
Were there many deleted scenes?
Well,
oh, right.
I'll come on to that after trivia.
Okay.
Trivia, quick ones. When Arnie goes to remove his eye with the scalpel in the hotel room, you can see, I think it's the second shot, as he gets near his eye, there's no blade in that scalpel. It's just the handle. So obviously for safety, they just took it out.
Yeah.
But it's really obvious. I'd never noticed it until I looked into it. When Arnie goes into the gun shop and he's listing off the guns he wants, and he says something about a plasma rifle or something, which is just brilliant. Like the guy just, hey, it's just what you see.
Yeah, right.
Just almost completely underplayed it. James Cameron is in the film.
No way. Has he got a
voice cameo?
Ah.
He's on the phone, on the answering machine when he rings to cancel the date with Sarah Connor.
That's James Cameron cancelling the date. No way.
Deleted scenes. I watched these this morning and largely meaningless and don't add very much. A couple of bits that stood out to me. There's a bit where you have our two favourite cops and they've just come out from interviewing Reese. One says, Reese is a wacko. And Ed says, like really sincerely, he better be. And then walks off. And what it portrays is this guy is seriously thinking to himself, fuck, if he's not a wacko, then all this is real and we are fucked.
I quite like that. It's a shame they took that out.
Yeah, it's really nicely done. And the guy, Paul Winfield, plays the cop. But he's brilliant in everything he does in this. Is so good. And then to add to that, during the police raid where Arnie's just coming in and killing everybody, where we said earlier that the camera cuts away as it goes to shoot him, right? So we see Reese and Sarah running through the police HQ, and then Ed, Paul Winfield, the cop, calls to Reese, just says, Reese. And we see him slouched on the ground, having just been shot, as we saw. He gives them his gun, and he says to Reese, you have to do whatever it takes to keep her alive. And then they just run off and leave him on the ground. You don't know whether he dies or not, but the look on his face is kind of like, fuck yeah, this is pretty bad. It's really well done for its nuance, and they sort of underplay it. I don't often say I'd like scenes to be left in.
I wonder why they got cut. They both seem like quite good bits.
You had those scenes together and you just think, yep, the guy thought it might be true and now he's dying. There's one other good scene where we see her at the hotel and she looks up Cyberdyne Systems in the phone book and suggests to Kyle that they blow it up. He refuses, says it's not his mission and it's tactically dangerous. She runs away. He ends up chasing her and ends up pointing a gun at her, and then he bursts into tears and has a bit of a breakdown and says how beautiful the world and her is, and it's all gone. The only reason I thought that worth mentioning is couldn't remember having seen this after watching the movie and not wanting to go back through it again and watch it all again. How much is mentioned about Cyberdyne in the movie?
Not a great deal. Where he's explaining to her what happened, he does mention Cyberdyne.
Because obviously that's basically the plot of Terminator 2.
Yeah.
But then there's another deleted scene from after the factory scene right at the end. There's teams going through the factory, sort of clearing it up. And we see a guy who finds the Terminator microchip. And he talks to some other guy about how complicated it looks and that's very fancy. And then the camera cuts to a shot outside the factory. And the camera pans up. And we see the name of the building, Cyberdyne Systems. Now that to me could be the end of the movie if you did away with Sarah's epilogue. I like that kind of ending. I like that. That would have been a better ending for me, I think, than her epilogue, indeed. We will get on to some Patreon comments. We'll talk about those in a minute because we've had some lovely and insightful comments from our Patreons and cool. As well as some people on Instagram as well. Nice. But we have to rank the film first. We do. Who's going first? Do you want to go first? S. S tier. S. S. Absolutely. Absolutely. I went into it thinking, I don't think it's going to be an S. And I watched the film and I thought, that's a good film. And I watched all the work that went into it. It was $6 million. It was just perfect for that kind of cash. I was amazed by what they made possible. At no point does it feel too slow or too fast. I mean, imagine making a film like this now.
It's stunning. S rank, absolutely. Yes, stunning, brilliant, lovely. I could, like I say every time, if it's S rank, it's going brilliant, and I could watch it again. I could watch it again tomorrow.
The runtime as well, it's 1 hour and 47 minutes, which is a perfect runtime for me. When we started this chat, I was thinking, I don't think I can give it this, but I'll give it a solid A. However, there's nothing wrong with this movie.
Right.
And I've seen it loads of times. And it's got a soundtrack that I love. Theme I love.
Yes, theme.
Acting's perfect. Storytelling's fascinating. Fuck it, it's an S, isn't it?
Totally. What it's influenced and what it's gone on to do as well. And
is there a better movie for $6 million? That's my new question.
I don't think there is.
Let's quickly move on to some Patreon comments, because Simon on Patreon just says, James Cameron as a hack who got lucky, his dialogue makes me fucking furious.
Sorry.
Just for contrast.
You're joking. Simon. What? A hack? You know, mate. All right. His dialogue makes me fucking furious. I mean, you're talking about his script writing, presumably.
I think it means dialogue.
Okay.
I'll be back. Come with me if you want to live. I mean, this sounds like he hates almost everything, James Cameron. I do remember Simon saying, I think he likes True Lies.
Okay. That's also Schwarzenegger.
So I think he's not just hating everything Cameron does. You read Kat's message to give it some balance.
I can. Terminator is a love story. Hear me out, she goes on to say. Kyle tells Sarah he has studied every line and every curve of that photograph. I came across time for you, Sarah. I love you. I always have. I'm
suddenly on the side of Simon from Patreon and saying his dialogue makes me fucking furious. That's his shit. That is George Lucas level romance writing.
He fell in love with her photo. He risked and ultimately gave his life to save her and their unborn child. I mean, you've got a point. And it is definitely possible to love a lifetime's worth in a short space of time.
I'll say this. Is it, though? I don't think it is. This just seemed really cringe to me in the movie. This was some of the weakest stuff in the film for me.
But she says that I think most of James Cameron's films have an underlying love story, even if it's not obvious. T2, for example, has the parental love story. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, it is. That is absolutely bang on the money. It is also a brilliant sci-fi film, in my opinion. One that's definitely S tier for me. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Sat watching it again now. And I would also say that the way AI is developing now, surely this film could be a warning about tech becoming too powerful. Yeah, also very fair points.
Terminator has always been the movie franchise for me. It's the go-to. Oh, we got to be careful with AI.
Yes. I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? And we are here. You know, it is scary.
And Matt on Instagram says, do you think Skynet would be disappointed at the current state of AI? You know, it's got all that military potential and it's churning out people's bloody action figures.
I think it's still learning. It's still young. It's still finding its feet.
I just like the idea of future Skynet just looking back and like, for fuck's sake, kill some people.
Oh, excellent.
There we are. Well, thank you everyone for your comments, questions and insights. It's always
absolutely
good value and really appreciate it.
Please do reach out to us and leave us some comments and stuff that we can read about, because we don't have enough to talk about as it is.
Right, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with a movie from 1988 and AJ's going to give us a clue.
It's a film about weaponry but without any clothes on.
God, that's the worst one you've done yet.
Good.
And it's a topical movie.
Anyway, please leave us a review on your podcast platform of choice. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Rewind Classic Movies. If you want us to drop us an email, it's rewindclassicmovies@gmail.com.
In the meantime, if you want to listen to more things about The Terminator, I'll be doing a fast forward episode to look at what happened after this movie came out, which includes, of course, all the sequels. Fucking hell, how many is that? It's fucking loads of them.
There's so many spin-offs and all kinds of crap.
Oh God, I think I'll barely touch on those.
I think Christian Bale was in one who was. I think that was quite good.
I quite like that one.
I quite like that one. I seem to remember liking that one. Yeah.
There's so much to the Terminator franchise, such as a mini sequel to Terminator 2 that isn't Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, RoboCop versus Terminator, and there's potentially a young John Connor TV series that was never made. So I'm trying to find out what I can find out about that. So that's now. I've died. My red eye's failing. That's out next week. Goodbye.
Do 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 do.